Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video and another gameplay video for you all today. Today was a video or a game against Prism. I've been really enjoying all of the games I've been getting against a lot of different meta heroes in the Fab Discord, with Dash and Prism and the new Bravo and Viscerai. So we'll get right into it. I enjoy playing Prisms. I think Katsu has a really good matchup in the Prism, and normally I'm pretty comfortable against them. Obviously, they can high roll and do some really cool things, especially on the end of your turn if they get some merciful retributions in the sorry, I was turning that guy's volume up. But yeah, merciful retributions on the field and can do a lot of crazy things. But overall, feel pretty comfortable in the matchup. So he likes to go first, and he comes in with a Herald of Triumph, but he did pitch a blue to do it. And so he doesn't have go again, so I'm assuming he just kind of drew kind of a bad hand. So we take advantage of that, fully block out, and draw up. I ended up blocking with a Surging Strike because I drew up in a 2 Surging Strike. So it's pretty nice having a Surging Strike in hand turn 1, being able to do some different things with it. I end up Kadachiing for 1 here just to try to, eke out some stuff. He ended up blocking with Boots right off the bat, which was a very interesting play. Not a bad play by any means, right? But an interesting play. Most people would use it on the second attack, second Kadachi. I don't know if I'm noticing this a lot though, that people are blocking the first Kadachi. I think a lot of people were trying to bait out the even bigger than that, and they're playing around it. So I think that was the reason. But since he did that, and I knew, and he blocked out my Surging Strike, the best play I had was to play Lightning Strike for 7. So a solid, 13 damage turn. And since he had fully blocked out the Surging, he couldn't really commit cards to hand to block out the Lightning Strike. So a good 7 damage turn there, which is really good early game against a Prism. Just, made him commit 2 cards from hand, as well as take 7 damage. And he didn't do anything on my end step. So I felt pretty good about, what was happening. And he passed back to me afterwards. This is where I drew a horrible hand. So I drew 2 McGinty releases, a Hurricane Technique, and what else did I draw? And a Razor. Yeah. So I drew 3 1-cost cards or 4 1-cost cards, 3 of them being yellow. So I couldn't pitch for Kadachis, had no go again, nothing. So the best I could do was go in for 7, right? Trying to eke through some damage, and get rid of this freaking hand. He came with a Soul Shield, so only took 1, which did not feel good. Looking back on it, the only play I could have done is I could have just pitched 1 to play McGinty and not use my Razor. I could have done that, and looking back on it, maybe that was the proper play. I was just trying to take a card or 2 from his hand, but it probably would have been better just to attack with the McGinty and then arsenal the Razor just to have it for later. It would have been really useful. But you make good plays, you make bad plays, we move on. But still in a good spot, up 8 life right now. He ends up toming, which helps him draw cards, and so he's able to play a Herald of Triumph with Go again. Only on hit effects as it goes to Soul. I'm not really worried about cards that go to Soul unless he really, really starts stacking them. Because of my Kadachis, I can just, poke away at his Spectral Shields and poke away at his Auras. So it doesn't bother me to take damage. It's a Herald. Yeah, that's right. I think it was a blue Herald. It only came in for 5 of Triumph. So take 5, have full grip, feel really good about it, and continue my turn. So we pitched for 1. He was a pretty smart Prism player and I could tell by what he was saying. He was really paying attention to which card I pitched as a blue. For anybody that's playing against a Katsu, this isn't 100% a telltale sign of what they're doing, but if you notice what blue they pitch, it could be a decent tell to what they have in their hand, right? So, like, for example, I pitched a Winds of Eternity. So the likelihood of me having 100 Winds in my hand is probably low, because why would I pitch a blue Winds if I, have 100 Winds in hand? I probably would just play out the line. So, it's not foolproof, obviously, right? That could be the only blue I have. You never know. But, it kind of helps. Pay attention to what blues Katsu's pitch. Sometimes it can help you a little bit. Sometimes it won't. But that type of blue, it definitely can help give a little bit of example. So, again, he blocks with Footsteps on the first attack. Very interesting. For anyone out there, even with even bigger than that, you kind of just let it go. The only time you can tell if even bigger than that's coming is if they pitch a red or pitch something that's not a blue. Maybe you then block the first Kadachi because they're trying to bait it out. but just block the second Kodachi. If you block the first Kodachi, you put yourself in such a bad spot. Like right here, he allowed Torrent to hit because he didn't want to have to commit cards to hand. He was really trying to hold his hand for a good turn, and I could tell, which is why I Katsu triggered and tried to go put some pressure on. I discard 100 or I banish 100 wins. I love 100 wins and banishing them on turns like this because if you have a 0 cost in your hand and like a snatch or a soul bead, and then you have maybe a non-go against 0 cost like I did, it can really help you, eke through some more damage. So I could tell he wanted to hold his hand, so I went and got 100 wins so I could come in with another like 7 damage and kind of force him to block. He can't really take it here. If he does, it's going to be put him in a really bad spot. He'll be down around almost 20 life, close to it. So yeah, so it puts him in a weird spot. And if he doesn't block this out, I'll present a mass trigger next attack. So he blocks 3. A breaking skills it to give it 4. And I know he can make a shield, but I'm forcing him to make a shield and lose a spectral, which at the end of the day, like for my breaking skills, if he's a good Prism player, my breaking skills is almost never going to hit anyway. So I did that to get him to lose a shield, and then I came in with Salt the Wound. I am loving Salt the Wound. I'll pause it for 10 seconds just so I can talk up Salt the Wound. If you're a Katsu player, try one Salt the Wound. I'm telling you right now, if you have a Fluster Fist in your deck, just replace it with a Salt the Wound. I'll tell you why. Reason number 1. Most of the time, Salt the Wound is going to come in 0 for 4. If you Kodachi attack and then Salt the Wound, 9 times out of 10, or a good amount of time, 2 of those attacks hit, which means Salt the Wound is going to come in for 4. So it's already coming in for what Fluster Fist comes in for. I know you can't search for it like you can Fluster Fist, but it already comes in the same damage. And it's a yellow pitch that you can pitch for Kodachis, right? It's basically a yellow Fluster Fist 9 times out of 10. And turns like this, it hit for 5. It's a 0 for 5, right? Just awesome value. I love having one in my deck. It's one of my favorite cards. Not because it's a world-ending card that's going to win you games, but it's basically, if you're running 1 or 2 Fluster Fists, swap it out for a Salt Wound. I have had that card has helped me more than hurt me in so many ways. And it blocks for 3. Fantastic card. So I have really good tempo here. I'm up 14 life. Feeling really good, feeling really comfortable. There's not much he can do at this point, at least right now. The game gets a little bit closer, spoiler alert, but overall in really good shape. For here, I had the leg tap line or half of it in my hand, but I had no blue. So I had to start with leg tap to go into Rising. He blocks out, try to prevent Rise Knee Thrust, but I had it. So 5 go again. He basically has to let it hit. He doesn't have a choice. So he ends up taking the 5 damage here. Then I 100 wins for 3 just to push a little bit more damage. Again, just trying to present as much damage as I can. Really put him in a bad spot. Mass trigger is not threatened here, so it's not super bad for him. But the extra 3 damage, right? He's already down 18 life. And possibly going down 21 life against a Katsu. Like, you really have to get lucky to not lose or not to win the game. So he ends up pitching for a Merciful Retribution and then also blocking with Footsteps. Good play. Or he blocks with a Merciful and then no, he pitched the Merciful, yeah, and he blocked with Footsteps, only taking 2. So mitigate a little bit of damage while also putting his Merciful on the field. So that's good. But right now I have him at 19 life lead, and he had to basically draw up. So I'm in a good spot. I'm also at the point now to where I could, even if he comes in with a good Herald turn, I can take damage. He does a good job here in the late game at eking me out and trying to like use his Merciful Retribution to his advantage by making shields and letting them get popped and then dealing me arcane damage. So it's really good for that. I think if he would have drawn into an Odoraph soon, it would have actually put me in a weird spot because I would have had to. I would have had to respect the Merciful, but just a Merciful Retribution by itself, I really don't have to respect it. If he pairs it with an Odoraph, that's when I have to start to go pop the aura. But right now I have so much tempo, I don't have to worry about the aura. I'd much rather just present damage. Normally I pop auras, but when a Merciful is just by himself and I have all the tempo in the world and I'm forcing him to block with 2-3 cards from hand every single turn, it doesn't matter. I did take a little bit of a gamble though, because if he draws into a red prismatic shield here, it does help him. But the good thing is, if I'm keep presenting damage like this, I'm just going to immediately pop it. Lunging Press didn't do too much here, but I wanted to get out of Arsenal because I wanted Arsenal and red roaming Gust Wave and try to set up for a possible Surging Strike turn soon because I hadn't gotten a Surging in a minute. I'd only played one, I think, right? So, the likelihood of me drawing a Surging is pretty decent. So I wanted to get that red whelming in Arsenal. Still have a 19 life lead. He has 2 cards in hand and a 1 card in Arsenal. Decent turn if he wants it. Let's see what he does here. He pops Goliath Gauntlet. Yeah, he can and conquers me for 8. So my red whelming's dead, right? I'm not going to full block this. It's not worth trying to save a red whelming. I'm up 19 life. I can take the 8. But this is where he starts to come back a little bit on me and really, apply a little bit more pressure. So I was just right here. I was just thinking again, like I've said in previous videos, thinking through my damage calculation, right? How much damage can I reasonably give next turn? Once I calculated that and figured out I was fine, still up 11 life with a full grip, totally fine. But I did discard a red whelming, so that didn't feel good, honestly. We had a Surging Strike for 5, so I had the Surging Strike, but there was no way I was going to save that whelming, so I can't block with 9 with 3 cards and keep the Surging Strike. That just wasn't possible unless I pop Mask. I think even with popping Mask, I would have had to commit every card to hand, and I just would have had Surging Strike into whelming, which wouldn't have been bad, but all he's got to do is block out both or let it eke through a little bit. So I figured I would, it's actually net positive for this line that I did, which was Surging Strike into Enlightened Strike. I think I did for 5 here with Go Again. So I've already dealt more than I would have dealt with the whelming line, and he seemed like a good enough player to where he knows he needs to block out one part of that line, so no point in me trying to save that red whelming. But he took the 5, which was very interesting. It is a hard decision though, because you're going to commit 2 cards from hand to block that Enlightened Strike, or pitch or do whatever, and then I'm coming in with. He knows I'm going to come in with another attack because I chose Go Again. So he does efficiently block here, blocking 3 and then pitching for Phantasmal Footsteps, which is fine. At this point, it's 25-9. I'm up 16 health. All he has is 1 card in Arsenal. He pitches his last pitch to make a Spectral Shield and then starts poking me. Which again, this seems really monotonous what he's doing, but late game, if he can draw into an Ode to Wrath or draw into a Herald Erudition or draw into something, he can possibly swing tempo back. It's definitely not out of the question. I was keeping my Mask in play. I always keep Mask in play for Herald of Eruditions, so I can block it with Mask, especially late game. I'm just going to auto block with Mask so you can't draw. Or Anti-Side and 3 Flick Black, so I was trying to utilize those as well. At this point, I'm just trying to start to slowly Kadachi lock him, take out his Spectral Shields. He either has to commit a card, commit Phantasmal Footsteps, or lose his shield. So he's in a really weird spot because he's essentially pitching a card and getting rid of a card from hand to save a 1 block shield, and that puts you in a bad spot when it comes to this. Yeah, I was trying to get my camera to focus. My camera's done this a couple times during this gameplay, so I apologize if it's a little blurry. I want to get a new camera. It's just a really simple webcam Amazon camera. So once I get a new one, I will have a better setup. So I apologize for that. If it's blurry on my side, I'll try my best to tell you what to do. Tell you what I'm doing. So he did pitch for Phantasmal. Let's try to save that Spectral Shield. So again, I'm coming at that Spectral Shield. I'm just trying to get rid of it. I do not want that thing there. Yep. I was getting ahead of myself with my damage. I took 1 Arcane for Merciful Retribution. Again, that's the one thing about Merciful Retribution is a little shiesty. If you're ever playing Katsu, you're playing against Prism in general, and you get below 15, 10 life, you really need to pay attention to Merciful Retribution and Odorafs, because Prism can literally almost kill you on your turn. And I read Surging Strike here for 5 at him, so he's in a weird spot right now. If he doesn't fully block it out, there's a chance I could go trigger to go get Whelming Gust Wave. And he doesn't want that, right? So he pitches, I think. Oh yeah, he popped his hood. So he could pitch and then go get a card. So he pitched it. Looked like a merciful. Yeah, so he pitches a card that doesn't block. Smart play on his part. And then he takes the 5. I forgot what I did here. I made one misplay during this game. I don't know if it was this game play or not. I think I have Arsenal and a Razor. I'm not 100% sure. I do make a misplay here on one turn, and I'll point it out when I make it. It was really bad. I was just getting ahead of myself trying to push damage and missed a good Katsu trigger. And we'll show it here. So he gets a Genesis on the field, which is really good. Genesis is a really good card if you have tempo, but you have to be able to put cards in the soul in order to get that effect and do what you want to do with Genesis, and it's hard for him to do that when it's 22-5. So this is when he starts going into tank Prism mode and just tries to consistently, block me with shields, do what he needs to do with it. Slowly whittle my life down. It was a smart play by him, kind of. Wow, my camera magically just goes to being good now. It's so annoying. He starts doing a really good job at slowly whittling me down while being a tank to where he can possibly get me low enough to then apply pressure. And now, whelming Gust Wave here, here's where I make the mistake. So this hits. When this hits, I should have Katsu triggered, and I should have went and got a McGinty. But I didn't. I decided Ancestral Empowerment. I drew a card. Do it properly, right? He doesn't have a defense reaction. So then I Snapdragon this to give it go again. What I should have done here is Katsu triggered, and I didn't because I'm stupid. I have one resource flowing with one card in hand. I can easily Katsu trigger here to go get McGinty release and then hit him for 5, go again. But guess what I do? I misplay. I get greedy. I play even bigger than that when I've dealt 2 damage to try to get more stuff. Once I've done this, I no longer can Katsu trigger, right? So huge misplay by me trying to get greedy with even bigger than that. Should have just went and got McGinty release, hit it for 5, go again. Just overall horrible play by me. Luckily, it didn't cost me too much. But, it is what it is, as we say. But a huge misplay on my part. Should have just went and got McGinty release. But I was trying to be dumb and push more damage by drawing a card. So it's all right. It happens. We learn from it. We won't do it again. We'll get better tomorrow. But yeah. Still have him in a good spot, right? It's 21-3, so it's not going to, really put me in too bad of a spot. But I kind of lost. So here's why I tried to Katsu trigger, and then I realized that instant, so I couldn't. Such a dumb play. Such a bum play by me. But it's fine. So we're talking it over. I'll play my card here in a second. I believe I play a Rising Ethrest. So yeah, I could have discarded my Rising Ethrest to go get McGinty release. I would have came in with 5, go again. I had a Lord of Wind in my hand too, I believe. Yeah, so I literally had Lord of Wind in my hand and did not Katsu trigger to go get McGinty. Literally the worst Katsu play I've probably ever made. So if anyone wants to flame me in the comments, please go flame me. It's totally fine. You can call me the worst player ever. It won't hurt my feelings. I believe you. But you know what? We live and we learn from it. Sometimes you're just not thinking straight, you know what I mean? So all he can do is make a shield. He can't even pitch to give it go again, hardly. I mean, he can, but it's not going to do much. So he pitches, and he can't even give it go again, I don't think. He plays a War Tune Herald without go again for a blue. So he can either come in for 3 here with the War Tune, I think, or he can just hit me for 5. So he does this. So he can have a full grip with 1 arsenal. It's a Lord of Wind. Not ideal, but I should be able to push enough damage to kill him here. It's going to be really hard for him to lock me out. He does have 2 Spectral Shields, though, so that does help him. So what I decided to do here is Enlightened Strike for 7, and then I have a Razor in hand, so I can give it 10. So if he doesn't block enough, right, I'm going to kill him, even with his 2 Spectrals. But he does properly block here. He does the right thing. He blocks for he makes a shield, blocks for 7, and then the 3 shields eats it up. I'm pretty sure that's what he does. So yeah, I razor it, which means he'll take 1. So he pitches to block with the shield. Pitches with a card that can't. He pitches with Herald Rare Edition. So he blocks all 10. And I take 3 Arcane from the Merciful Retribution, but at this point, no cards in hand. And I can kill him here. Oh, yeah, that's right. It didn't hit, so I didn't get go again. I remember this, but he has to draw up anyway. He hits me for 1, and then I come back with a full grip. Yeah, he blocked out the Enlightened Strike, so I couldn't have go again, but it was fine. Again, see that McGinty misplay really took this game and made it a lot closer than it needed to be. I should have won like 21-0, but because of a simple misplay, it shows you like you got to be on par every single time, and really not make those misplays. It can let a person right back into the game. So he ends up blocking the Surging Strike out fully here. Smart play. I always think if you're playing a Katsu, in my opinion, if you have the resources to do so, always block out the Surging Strike first. Because if they have the Whelming in hand, you're already screwed anyway. So you all never want that Surging to hit, in my opinion. That's just how I play. But he let it hit. Well, yeah, he didn't fully block it out. He let it hit. He blocked for 4. Taking 1. And we hit Whelming Gust Wave for 4. Go again. He has to fully block out here. And then I'm going to, because I draw a card if it doesn't hit. If it hits, so he can't afford to let it hit at all. And then I Lord of Wind for 2 to win the game. Yeah, that was the game. In control the whole time. However, the game should not have went the way it did because of my stupid misplay. I should have won like 20-0. Overall, I was just keeping tempo, doing what I needed to do. That right there, I know some people disagree with me in the comments, and you're perfectly entitled to your opinion, but that game right there shows why, in my opinion, Katsu is heavily favored in a Prism if you are playing the Aura build. If you're playing the Herald build, then it's possible because Prism can race pretty well with Heralds, right? But if you're playing the Aura build, you just have too many cards in hand that don't block. So even if you're efficiently pitching like he was and efficiently playing out your Auras as much as you cannot gain enough steam to beat the Katsu. Unless you Reds per Max Shield off the top, like first couple turns, and really get tempo quickly, then you're not winning the game, in my opinion. That's just how I look at it. But if you have a different opinion, it's totally fine. But I hope y'all enjoyed the gameplay. Hopefully, y'all are enjoying the games, wins and losses. I'm trying to show both, right? I'm not just going to show wins on the channel. I'm going to show when I lose on the channel too. And yeah, hopefully y'all have a good rest of your week. If you have any suggestions on the content you want to see, please let me know. I'll try to fulfill it if I can. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.